But 90 with lower humidity is great for us, right, Joanne?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
All
know.
right, so we're going live, guys. We're going live just
All
about
right.
all right, so there's gonna be a bit of a delay, but we can get it started. I'm gonna test for making sure everything is coming live. Yes, we are live. Okay. Good morning / good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session. We're so excited because we have amazing speakers lined up for you that will teach you everything about the coming changes to the industry. I think we are all scared. We are all surprised. We are all puzzled. We are all looking at different options. What do I do? And we've done a series of these thanks to HIVEOLOGie and thanks to the amazing speakers. The first one was, what is this thing? What is happening? The second one was how to go a little bit deeper and understand the relationships with buyers. The third one, which is this one today, is going to be to concessions, how to work out that. And we're going to have a ton of great topics lined up for you to really cover and really make sure everything is kind of answered for you. The agenda is going to be super exciting. Initially, we're going to go over what Roomview is, a little bit of that, what is happening in the industry. Then we're going to explain a little bit about HIVEOLOGie. And this is the first like kind of 5 to 10 minutes while we get everyone onboarded. And then we're going to go into seller concessions, how to compensate the buyer broker. Exciting topic, right? How to work with buyers to bridge and really work with listing agents, opportunities to get new home sales, covering all the changes. What can the buyer agents do to learn and work with builders? There's so many of these, right? So many interesting topics that we're covering. How can you demonstrate your value to both the buyers and builders? How can you change your marketing to answer these? That's always another question that we have. And then how do you begin to work with builders and do new home sales? Because that's going to be a huge avenue. They still get commission. Everyone needs you there. And it's going to be super interesting. So we are going to cover a ton of things. It's going to be super exciting. And I think it's going to be super valuable in terms of all we do today. Sabine, if you can introduce everyone, that would be awesome.
I would love to. Thanks, Sam. Hello, everybody. My name is Sabine, and I'm the CEO and founder of HIVEOLOGie Accelerated Learning. And as Sam mentioned, we're here to bring you the third in our series. We've got the next two figured out too, by the way. So keep in touch with us, and we'll make sure that you get an invite to those as well. We are here to help you guys navigate this change. We know that not everything is obviously 100% figured out, but there's enough that we think that we can help guide you, and we've got a number of different perspectives. I'm super, super excited to introduce you to Kimberly and Joanne. But before I do that, I also wanted to make sure everybody knows, if you guys go to a link I'm going to give you, it's gohive.info/roomview. It's also in the description of the YouTube post. gohive.info/roomview. You're going to get a ton of bonuses, including 2 specifically designed today for you, one from Kimberly and one from Joanne. One is the top 10 things real estate agents need to know when working with home builders. That one is a great piece. And also a deeper workbook on choosing your real estate niche workbook. This is really cool too. This will actually get you through the thought process of trying to figure out what your particular niche might be if you haven't already done that. We've also got invites to the next 3 workshops. We've got Double Your Deals with Systems, Mastering the Art of an Irresistible Value Prop, and Side Hustles for Real Estate Pros. Basically, what we've done is created a session for how to create multiple income streams. That one's really fun. And a number of other things. But you'll see that if you sign up, you'll get lots of that, including $25 cash to spend at HIVEOLOGie however you want. So don't forget to go to that link. And just quickly, so I'm super, super excited about Joanne and Kimberly being here because these 2 ladies in each of their areas are absolute powerhouse experts. Joanne is a renowned and sought after luxury real estate specialist. She's a coach and educator. She's been coaching and consulting clients as well as being an active realtor, and has over $2 billion in annual real estate sales that has been accounted for through her coaching and consulting programs,
Wow.
Which is insane. Love that. That's a big freaking number. She is working with us to build a new luxury workshop, luxury accelerator, and a luxury specialist course. So keep that in mind. So you'll hear about that if you sign up with us too. And Kimberly is a wonderfully engaging trainer and truly the top expert on new home sales. So I can't talk enough about either of them. Kimberly's Cutting Edge Realtor Builder program has generated 135 million in new home sales alone just last year. So
Wow.
you are lucky to have both of these ladies here today, in my opinion. We love them both. And we're working with Kimberly on creating a new home sales accelerator program, as well as a workshop and a course. So you guys are going to get lots of great stuff shortly. So Sam, you know, he's already sort of introduced himself, but we all know that Sam can help us with all of the social and the marketing elements that we're talking about here, all that Roomview is doing. And finally, before I jump into the beginning of this, we have to do our little disclaimer. I've already mentioned that, you know, and so has Sam really, but you know, this is not legal advice. You have to check with your broker, your legal rep, or your state or local association, please. We are doing our best to give you whatever is happening today and what we know today, but really critical that you go get your own legal advice, please, and find out what's happening hyper local. Super important. So that's that.
And we have people in the audience joining from Pittsburgh. We have people joining from Houston, San Francisco, Toronto, Calgary. So some Canadians, and the whole idea is everyone is watching this, even if you're in Canada, change is coming. So, and everything that we're telling you today is just our own best understanding of what needs to happen. And every state might be different, every broker might be different, to Sabine's point. So make sure you check and make sure you see what works best for you. But these are the best advice that we could think of up to this point. And there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, exactly. And Sam and I would love to know how many of you were at either of the previous workshops. So if you could drop a yes into the comments in YouTube, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So let us know if you were part of the previous 2 workshops.
Or even one of
we
them.
had over 300 people attending each of those the past 2 months. So let us know if you're returning, if you're learning, and remember, this will be recorded, so you can always go back and rewatch and kind of see what is happening with that. Okay, so with that, I think we're gonna get a brief introduction on Roomview, a brief introduction on HIVEOLOGie, and then get us started and dive deep into this session. So Gary from our team will be here now to kind of walk over and tell you a little bit about what Roomview is, what are the changes that are coming, and we can basically kind of go from there. So let me set that up and we should be good to go.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this conversation. I think it's really important to acknowledge the fact that when anticipated change is on the horizon, it's absolutely imperative to be prepared the best that we possibly can. And, you know, obviously there's a lot going on in the real estate market as it pertains to, you know, these buyer agreements that must be signed in order to earn commissions. And therefore, it's going to be even more important for us to really establish value before we acquire new clients, right? So a little bit about Roomview, and then I'm going to talk all about what we can do to set you up for success. So our founder and CEO, Sam, who was just on here, you know, he's a #1 or top performing real estate agent in British Columbia. There's over $100 million in sales on an annual basis. And Sam realized early on that in order for him to not only sustain this level of productivity, but take it to a whole new horizon, he really had to figure out a way to capitalize on social media. And he thought about different approaches, right? He's like, hey, you know what? I can hire somebody to be a content manager, but that comes at a very big expense. I can, you know, outsource it to somebody in a different country, but there's cultural misunderstandings. And so one day he's like, you know what if I were to create this solution on my own? And so he got his team of designers and they put their heads together and they created this really powerful platform, which is known as Roomview. And I think what's important about Roomview is to really acknowledge the fact that it is designed for realtors by a real estate agent. So a lot of the needs that are required to be met in order for you to really take your business to the next level we're solving for you within our platform. As a matter of fact, we have over 170,000 agents currently working with us today. And I think it's important to note that that did not happen by accident. We did it with intention. We invited agents to obviously try out the platform, and they absolutely love what we can provide for them in the form of solution, because it saves your two biggest resources, time and energy. We have been mentioned in Inman, we've been mentioned in some really great publications such as Forbes and obviously the NAR. So talking more about the change that's coming, obviously we got to really stay ahead of this whole notion of these buyer agreements, right? And so in order to do that, what's really crucial is to establish credibility in what you do for your potential clients. We've got to realign your marketing strategies to emphasize that transparency and value. What better way to do it than to capitalize on a social media platform, which is going to help you communicate with these prospects on a consistent basis, right? And we're going to show what value propositions you bring to them, and we're going to utilize technology to accomplish that. We're going to leverage artificial intelligence, and we all know that's the big buzzword right now. What are you doing to leverage AI? And the reason why it's so important is because it is a viable solution that will once again help change the trajectory of your business. Just to introduce, Sam, he did write an article that was featured in Forbes magazine, as far as the NAR settlement and how it's reshaping buyer agent marketing strategies. And Roomview is going to help you prepare for this. I just want to emphasize that again. Now, whether you partner with us or a different company, there's always 3 rules or principles that must be met at the same time in order for any type of campaign to be deemed effective. The first of these rules is that when you're considering a marketing partner, can they guarantee you exposure? Meaning, can they guarantee that your brand and your face is going to be seen? If the answer is no, don't sign up, don't invest, run, okay? The second thing is okay, you know what, repetition. So not only is it important to be seen, but it's absolutely imperative that you're seeing often. And the reason is because this is where association begins to occur. My need for a real estate agent in line with you, right? Because I'm seeing you every and the content and the information that I am reading because you're producing it is relevant to my buying journey or my selling journey. And then lastly, the targeting. So not only do you want to be seeing and seeing often, you want to be seen by the right people, by the people that are going to be most likely to hire you for your services. And what we're going to talk about here in a little while is how Roomview is going to help secure, that target market for you. Go to the next slide. Okay, so when it comes to social media, there's a term that we refer to as the big 6 of social media. And those are all the major platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. And when you partner with Roomview, what we're going to do is we're going to help you post automatically on all of these platforms, right? And we're really going to capitalize on those 3 principles of marketing. We're going to make certain that you're seeing often and by the right people to establish credibility, which will give you and provide you a competitive edge in the marketplace. When we do this correctly, you'll achieve top-of-mind awareness or more brand recognition, which is ultimately going to lead to more buyer and seller opportunities. We know, because we conducted studies, that when you partner with Roomview, due to the hyper-local content that we're able to provide you, and what do I mean by hyper-local content? What that means is that artificial intelligence will automatically create content and videos for where you specialize in real estate. So if you're in Scottsdale, Arizona, we're going to pull automatically through our web crawler technology the content that's going to set you up for success and separate you from your competition in Scottsdale. So you don't even have to take the time and the energy to do this anymore. All you got to do is take the time and energy and invest with us. That's it. And again, our content, because it's hyper-local and it's relevant, it will give you a 4x conversion rate compared to any other type of content on social media. We've done and conducted this case study. The majority of our clients, on average will receive 5,000 weekly views as a result of partnering with us. That's 10,000 eyeballs, ladies and gentlemen, that aren't seeing you right now, who are going to start to see you and help you obviously establish your brand and that top of mind awareness. The average of our clients will receive over 100 leads per year. Think about that for a second. 100 leads, that is an impressive amount of opportunity. Not saying that all these people are going to close right away, but if you think about your network and how to grow your SOI, what better way to put 100 people that have expressed some sort of interest in buying or selling their property in the future into your network. The anticipated close rate is 2%. So of those 100 leads, the majority of our clients will close 2 deals on them. And if you're a multi-million dollar real estate agent focusing on luxury, right, $2 million at 3%, I mean, that's $60,000. You do 2 of those, that's $120,000 return on your investment. It is absolutely a no-brainer. And we do such a good job that our renewal rate is actually 95%. So 95 out of 100 of our customers will continue to do with us time and time again. So right now, what I want to do is invite all of you to, an opportunity for us to conduct a social media audit for you. It's completely free. All you got to do is just scan this QR code and register for a free demonstration. We'll pull the information on your behalf and provide you a grade and let you know how you measure in comparison to other real estate agents in the industry. And you'll also be submitted just by registering for this demonstration for a $200 raffle. And the way that you enter is by registering for the demo. So don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Learn how, what type of grade you're receiving on your Instagram and be open to learning to, some suggestions on how we can improve. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. So it's a pleasure to actually have Gary in our office today in Vancouver. So that's why we're actually in here. So let's get started. We wanted to give some buffer time so everyone can join and start learning. So Sabine, you have the floor. Maybe talk a little bit about HIVEOLOGie, and then at the end, we're going to cover a lot more about our partnership with HIVEOLOGie, what you can get with HIVEOLOGie partnership. You're going to learn a ton from HIVEOLOGie's system. It's going to be super exciting.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam. I am, however, I think just because of Joanne's time, I'm going to jump right into our interview with Joanne because she has to leave us a little bit early today. So everyone, if you have questions for Joanne, if you could please drop them into the chat as we go. Unfortunately, Joanne has to jump and won't be able to be here right at the end for our final QA. So just a reminder for everybody. One of the things that Joanne and I talk about a lot since all of this has been happening is how challenging this has been for mindsets for a lot of agents, that this has been a difficult time. Obviously, the stress is high, change is always difficult, but these are some pretty big new issues that everybody's dealing with. So Joanne deals with this a lot because as focusing on luxury agents, mindset is a pretty important and key element to being not just a successful agent, of course, but certainly to do so in luxury, you have to have the right frame of mind. So I wanted to just quickly ask Joanne, what she thought about where we are today, and what they can do if they're not in a good place.
Thank you, Sabine. Thank you, Sam. Well, the mindset is key. I see a lot of fear out there. And we all know what that means, right? False evidence appearing real. And that's all fear is. And especially the initial webinars around this NAR change. It was all speculation and the sky was falling and people were afraid and this will never work. And you know what, you guys, that is not the case. There is nothing happening that we cannot handle. These changes are all within our control, and we can move forward with confidence and competence, and we can deal readily with this buyer-broker agreement. We will have what it takes to ask the buyers for compensation or ask the sellers for concessions. Working with this agreement is no big deal. It seems like it is. I think the biggest fear right now is more paperwork. But this is an agreement just like the listing agreement. There are clauses and there are performances that have timelines to them. I just want to reassure all of you that this is much easier than you may think. And I say this because for 17 years, I just got notification from LinkedIn today. It's been 17 years that I have been an instructor with NAR. This accredited buyer representative course has been around since that time and even before. And I have worked with many, many agents going back 17 years who have successfully used buyer representation agreements in their practice, going back 2 decades. And you actually will appreciate the structure and the professionalism that this now puts into your practice when working with buyers.
I think that's the key point for me anyway, is that it's an opportunity actually for us to sort of take it up a notch, to be frankly less risky in our approach to how we manage our relationships with the buyers themselves. And I'm wondering though, we thought we would start today about talking more about the seller concession piece.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. So when we consider the seller, how would you recommend our agents discuss including a seller concession to compensate the buyer broker?
Right.
How would you have that conversation? What would they say?
So we'll put on our listing agent hat right now, Sabine. Is that a good place to start? We're taking the listing.
Yeah, I would assume that's probably the best place to start. But yeah, how would you have that conversation with your seller?
We'll start there. And
Sure.
one other thing is, I want to assure all of you that one way we will succeed going forward is we need confidence and competence, and that comes from up-leveling skills, right? And practicing our new scripting. And we don't need to borrow anyone's script. You have all the scripts you need inside of you. So when it comes to dealing with seller concessions, get a piece of paper and write down, what do I know about seller concessions? I know that seller concession can be used for a number of reasons. It can be used to make improvements to the house. It can be used to buy down points. It can be used to compensate a buyer's representative. So seller concessions is this broad category. And now we need to know as a listing agent that there are buyers who will have an interest in your house and can afford it. They may not be able to afford my fee as a buyer's representative. And those buyers will eliminate properties that don't offer seller concession that could be attributed to a buyer broker's fee. So you see how that just makes sense, right? And it's I didn't pick that up from anybody. That is a script that you can put together that is natural for you. You are educating, you are incentivizing. We're letting the seller know that there are buyers out there who cannot afford to pay a buyer broker. However, a seller concession can offset that objection. And it would be in your best interest, seller, if you offer that. It opens up the buyer pool. It allows the buyers to, consider your property seriously going forward. So that is a great start. What do you think, Sabine? Just starting with that initial nugget of a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I've heard a couple of you mention this before, and I think that the point that you're making is a really great one. That obviously it limits the pool of buyers for somebody's home if there isn't an opportunity for everybody to play. So it's a fairly simple conversation. I think the way that you put it is even, I don't even think of it as a script. It's more like a talking point or a discussion to have with them, So I personally think that's a wonderful way to start the conversation. I'm wondering though, like, we know that not every seller is still going to be willing to do this. So assuming that doesn't go perfectly,
Yes.
there might be the odd time that won't. How would you coach our agents to help the buyer to bridge the delta?
Well, now what we have would be the buyer is educating their customer, their client, on how the game is played now, right? So none of us, and our services are not free. You know, we used to say that on the buyer side, my services are free. We can't say it anymore. It's never been true, but we were able to, just because the seller compensated. You see how that works, you guys? So our services are not free. And we're open and honest and friendly about this with our buyers. You know, my services are not free, and we went through the services that I'll provide you. Now, I'll show you properties that fit your needs and your financial ability, and you can decide on each one if you want to move forward. You know, there may be some in there that don't offer a seller concession. And then we can cross that bridge when we come to it, because you can say no right then, or I'll go forward and see if I can negotiate that for you. So I think the key here is it's not black and white, and that let's not close the door on any one option. We need to facilitate the ability to negotiate and keep open minds. And that's what a negotiation is. A negotiation is a meeting of the minds and a coming together. And we're no more black and white. It's 2 apples, it's 3 apples. If it's not this, then forget about it. We're just going to continue to move forward, all of us together, and have conversations. So if I have a buyer and they're interested in a property and it does not appear that there's a seller concession, just like I talk with a for sale by owner, well, let me see what they're willing to do.
I think, one of the other challenges that some of our buyer reps might have is, if they're working with a listing agent that hasn't had that conversation with their seller, perhaps, what would you suggest? Is there a way to have a different conversation or a conversation about the same thing, I suppose, with the listing agent?
Absolutely. The listing agent is one of our negotiating partners, right? We negotiate with a listing agent already, you guys, when we make an offer. When we make an offer, who are we making the offer to? If it isn't our seller, we're offering it to the listing agent. And we're setting up our case to make our offer look very appealing. Not everybody does a good job of this, I can guarantee you that, but it can be done. And the same can be done now when we're working with buyers. And I would just, Sabine, you're the listing agent. Sabine, I have a buyer. They really, love the house. They have been looking for a while. As you know, inventory is a little bit tight right now. It does not appear that they have extra funds to pay the buyer broker. I'm curious, would your seller have an open mind and consider a seller concession for this qualified bona fide buyer to consider the purchase of their home? So it's a question that I'm asking. Here we go. The languaging we're using is to open minds.
Yeah. I think that, so maybe I'll open this up also to Sam and Kimberly, or Sam, if you have any questions from the audience at this point. Have you had any experiences? I don't know if Kimberly in new home sales, for instance, if you've had any experience on any of this sort of how to talk about this piece, or any tidbits you'd like to leave everybody with?
So Joanne's right. I mean, this is all about, we're in the relationship business, people. So, if you have a relationship with your buyers, you should be able to have these conversations. So back in the day, 100 years ago, when I was practicing general real estate versus new home side, I had buyers. We had the discount brokerages during those days, and I had buyers. I always made sure that my buyer signed a BBA with me. And I would say to them, this is what I work for. This is what I'm going to do for you. This is the value I'm going to provide, which you've shared with me. And our conversation here is important to you and why you came to me to begin with. And, I will show you anything you want to see. But if it doesn't compensate me at this amount, then you might need to bring something to the table. Now, before I show it to you, I will always disclose what the buyer agent commission is so that you can make that determination. I don't want to make that determination and rule things out for you. And you balk at it. 100% of the people signed. And I did have one lady who did actually have to bring a small check to closing because the home that she ultimately decided worked for her was less than what my compensation percentage was. And she was fine with that because I did everything I said I was going to do and I provided that value to her.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, do what you say what you're going to do and then do what you said.
Right.
And provide that value and build those relationships with people. And same thing goes to the making an offer. Like Joanne said, what's the value in it? What's the value to this buyer? In today's market, you're going to want the buyer because things are slowing down quite a bit for us. So they are going to want that buyer right now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Sam, did you have anything to add there, or do you want any questions from our gang?
So one of our audience is asking, it's an interesting question, how to deal with difficult people. I don't know how to answer that question, but
that's a whole nother workshop.
That's a whole other workshop.
That's a whole nother one. I don't know, Joanne, you're great with that, or Kimberly, what do you think? Do you have a quickie on that one?
I think it's helpful the first posture for you to take is to not be defensive. Stay cool and calm and collective. Some people think being combative is a form of negotiation, and it's because they lack true negotiating skills. But you don't have to lack true negotiating skills. This is one way we up level our game going forward, you guys. We do really need to become better negotiators. Read a book, take a course. Take yourself seriously going forward. We have to work harder now on these transactions for a variety of reasons, but getting a BBA signed is not one of them. Okay, that's just a contract, and we have a regular contract conversation, but negotiating, dealing with difficult people, there are skills to deal with this. So if you Google or you go to Amazon, you say dealing with difficult people, there is no dearth of material that will be available to you. And you can just hop out there and pick up a tip sheet PDF for free. And that's plenty for you to work with. So diffuse the emotion. Don't get emotionally hooked on what is happening. Stay cool, calm, and collected. And just say, I get it. I understand how you're feeling. All right, let's regroup here and look at it this way. And then you reframe and you'll be in a new position. What do you think?
Perfect.
I think another key question that I keep getting from our audience is, can we have a PDF or a written literature that I can share with the buyers that are coming to open houses, that I can send to sellers, explaining this to them, like why do they need to allow for concessions? I think that's going to be something that we can also talk about. Like what are some best practices to explain this to the seller, that now you don't have to pay the buyer agent, but you have to allow for concessions. How would you handle that? How would you approach that?
Right. Okay. So we'll get something put together for you. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask you to write down on a piece of paper the reasons why you think a seller should offer a seller concession. We started with a few, and this is something going forward. This will keep you on top of your game, no matter what changes are going forward. Your ability to write your own scripts based on the facts and the information.
Can you give us like 3 items as to what it should be there? Like what should I say in that in those reasons? Like what are your top?
Does it limit the buyer pool? I think it limits I think if a seller's not offering a concession, it limits the buyer pool. What do you think? you know, if you agree with that, that will be point number one.
So yeah, that's one of the great points. Like if
Right?
we
If
know we're not
Yes.
supposed to do this, like we're not required by law to do this, but look,
right,
if you don't do it, it might limit the buyer pool.
it might limit the buyer pool, right? You know,
Okay. What are
and
what
you-
are the two items that you would add in there?
and you know, and the other thing is you would have more options with your buyers. You know, you might you know, I think that would be another one. Limiting the buyer pool, you may have more options, a more qualified buyer. You won't be wasting your time.
You can
Okay.
also,
If I-
I would also
I
add, oh yeah,
Yes,
please do, go
Please,
for it.
let's fill the list.
Yeah, so I mean, there's the list goes on and on, right? But when we ask questions to the buyer, so is it more important to you to sell your home quickly?
Right.
If so, doesn't it make sense to broaden the buyer pool by offering a concession?
Yeah, speed.
Isn't it better
to?
to offer the buyer concession right now so that your days on market don't end up expanding, and then we don't have to discount the home? Because once we start discounting the home, that gets very pricey in order to make an impact. So we can sell your home for the maximum price as long as we have the most people who are going to see that. Isn't that important to you, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer or seller?
Yes,
That's
yes,
perfect.
tie it
And how do you
down.
recommend addressing bonuses in buyer representation discussions? Sydney is asking this question.
I'm going to hit that one when it's
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good,
because
good.
I'm
and
talking
I-
about builders, so
good.
I'll
We
hit that
will
one for sure.
definitely be talking about that. And Joanne, I know you have to run, so I wanted to just cut here so you're not late.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you
I
so much.
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much, Joanne. Thank you so much for all the
Thank you.
value
All
that you
right.
brought
Good
to the
luck,
session.
everybody. Have fun
Thanks,
out
Joanne. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
there. Bye-bye.
And to Joanne's point, we will put together a list of reasons to have a seller concession, and we'll make that available on the bonus link as well. It won't be up there immediately, but we'll give us a couple days and we'll put something together for you guys. So that's a good point. So I made a note
That's
of
a
that.
good point. I think we can share a great PDF for you guys to actually give to your
Yep.
clients. This is going to be something that you can have with your branding. You can just share it away, and everyone can just have access to that and it kind of get value from it. So with that, let's dive into like a lot of questions about seller concessions, a lot of questions about bonuses. I'm so excited to learn that from you, Kimberly, and we would love to do a deeper dive into this and learn from you.
Sounds
Great.
good. So we're gonna start with Kimberly's expertise. So thank you, Kimberly. We really appreciate you talking about this. We wanted to start with, first of all, for all of you that aren't already working with new home sales, and maybe that's a question we'll ask everybody. So throw something in the chat. Are you already doing work with builders? We'd love to know. Just put yes or no. And maybe Sam, you can help us out at some point and let us know what that ends up looking like. But Kimberly, how are builders reacting to the changes after the NAR settlement?
Yeah, before we answer that, for those who I am saying, I'm very interested to hear how educated our audience is on working with builders. We know that 72% of all new home sales are have an outside representative. But interestingly, only about 15% of all general real estate agents ever sell new homes. So that's a huge opportunity for everybody on here. If you don't have new homes as part of your repertoire, you are really missing out, because so few agents are even willing to do it. And usually because they're afraid, or they don't understand it, or, they're just nervous about it, or they heard somebody had a bad experience, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. So to answer the question, Sabine, though, builders are, for the most part, sitting back a little bit, waiting to see how all of this shakes out. So they're kind of running a status quo right now. And some of them are just very, not aware of what's happening. But others are really adopting that wait and see. So they are still trying to do things the way they have been doing them. They're still marketing. They market directly to real estate agents. We've been encouraging them that they need to market that not only to the general real estate agents, but also to buyers, to let buyers know that they are happy to work with outside brokerages on and what that looks like. So it needs to be more clearly defined to talk about what it actually looks like. So we've been encouraging them to do that, but the National Association of Home Builders just recently held a nationwide shop talk on the subject to try to get builders talking about it. Some of them have come out and said, okay, we had a couple that said, okay, well, here's my flat commission amount. And most of those were builders who did that already, or who just paid a flat fee as opposed to a percentage. So, you know, you do see a little bit of that, and it's incumbent on the general realtor to know who the builders are in their area and how they, you know, how those builders are compensating.
Yeah.
So, and really the only way you do that is to get to know the builders themselves. But a lot of them are even going the other way, and they're doubling down. They're like, we're going to still pay higher than market rate. We want your business. So, you know, again, we've got to get to know those builders and know how they're working it, and, you know, make sure that you're registered for their VIP list for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and you know, you gave us for this session, you gave us that great tool. So everybody can also get an idea of where to start, you know, if they're not already working with home builders. So they know that this are your top 10 list. But so does this conversation, I'm just curious, of seller concessions, is it relevant with new home sales as well? Because it's a builder?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So, and kind of on the opposite end of things, because builders, when they have an inventory home that for whatever reason isn't selling, or they're doing a startup on a new community, or they're in a closeout phase for a community, those tend to be the tougher times for us. And we will sometimes throw in some added bonuses and added spiffs to general realtors, because of course, you know, we know that you have the buyers. So that's where we're going to lose that lever, I'm afraid, because of the way you as general real estate agents are going to have to fill out your buyer broker agreements. So it's important when if you're going to show new homes, you know what the bonuses are, you know what the real estate compensation is from the builders that you work with in your farm area, and that you include that in your BBA, because you probably don't want to go back and go, oops, well, now we're doing new construction, so here, let me get you to sign this one because it's for a higher amount. That's a completely different conversation versus having a conversation saying, you know, I'm working with builders, and I have spent a lot of time building these relationships. I can help you with this building process. I understand it. And, you know, it's a longer process. Therefore, builders typically offer a different buyer concession, and it is typically higher. It's typically this amount. So I'm going to put this on the BBA. And if we're dealing with a used home and it's less, then we can have a different conversation about what's involved, because my involvement is typically going to be a lot more for a lot longer when I'm working for a builder. Buyers understand that. They're like, oh, well, that makes sense. Of course you would get paid more.
Right.
So
that's a question that's come up in a couple of these sessions now, is this whole idea of, you know, how do I transition my BBA from one situation to the next? So,
tough.
you know, we had talked about this a little bit. It's like, how do you not, you know, it's basically, how do you structure the BBA to keep them from leaving money on the table? What do you think?
Yeah, and I don't know that anybody has the true answer to that yet of what that looks like. But in practice today, IRL, in real life, right? I'm talking to agents who are putting that higher amount in. So I have one who's putting 6% in across the board. So she's just, and that's a number. I'm not saying that's what you do. I'm not certainly, you know, giving you a commission amount, but she's putting that higher amount because she works in the Florida market, where we do have a lot of big builders who do pay additional money. And then whatever the real thing is, then they talk about that. And then that's what she makes the adjustment on the BBA. So she's adjusting down rather than having to go back and adjust up. And but she also builds a ton of rapport with her buyers and does a wants and needs analysis. That is not the MLS intake form. It truly is a rapport building and a true discovery process.
Yeah.
And because she's doing that in a different way, her buyers know, hey, this is not your typical real estate agent. This person is going to do all these things for me.
Right.
So they're much more willing to sign that.
Well, and I think everybody is so gun shy now because of this rule. Like, we feel like we can't talk about compensation at all, or commissions especially, or the 6% fear or whatever, you know, it's like everybody's like really scared about this. And I think it's just because everybody is afraid that it'll feel like you're not negotiating or you're not being transparent or whatever that concern is that's been through all these settlement conversations. So, you know, I think the message that we keep hearing from everybody is you deserve to get paid. It's just now you need to prove your value, and you will have different scenarios where you will be paid different amounts depending on what it is you're doing for someone, or what kind of property, or how long did it take, or, you know, how many other steps are involved in your process compared to somebody else's, and are they willing to pay for that? You know, this is the things that each one of us as agents is going to have to figure out for ourselves. You know, and some of us, it might be too much trouble and you're like, let's keep it simple. And everybody else is going to be, I'm going to have a menu and this is what I'll do, you know, over here or whatever. I mean, I suspect that's what you're seeing too.
I am. And I'm, you know, I think part of the problem starts with, we said, oh, buyer broker services are free. So we
Right.
already discounted our services, that we're not worth money.
Right.
And it was, as Joanne said, it was never free. It always costs money because, of course, the buyer's the one who's getting the mortgage, right? They're buying the
Right.
home. They're the ones paying for it. So
Right.
the seller just wasn't collecting that amount. So that's, we've discounted our services to the point that mentally we're all going to have a paradigm shift.
Yeah. Well, actually, to that point, when you think about value prop and builders, is there anything special that you, like even a couple pointers that you could think of for a buyer's agent to demonstrate value specifically for new home sales? Like is there anything special that they could be doing to really stand out?
Yes, 100%. And thanks for that question, because that's where, that's honestly where builders and buyers agents sometimes have the rub. Tell you, I just be really honest. The reason builders get frustrated with realtors is because literally we deal with people who just kind of slow down the car, kick their buyer out, call and go, by the way, those people are mine. I've registered them, take good care of them. And we never see them again. Unless it's they get sideways about something and they blow things up. So don't be that realtor. So be the realtor who is engaged, who's bringing the buyers, who's scheduling the appointments ahead of time, who understands what this builder does. So are they a production builder?
Yeah.
You're not going to customize and do all the choices with a production builder. But you're probably going to get more money, more bang for your buck. So if you've got that value buyer, production land is probably where you want to be. If you have that buyer that wants to have it their way, well, now we need to start looking, depending on price points and offerings, are they semi-custom or custom? And expect that the more customizations, the more expensive it's going to be, right?
Right.
So you've got to know, what does this builder do? What is their specialty? What do they offer? And the way you do that is by going out and spending time with their on-site agents who are your partners. Yes,
So
I
some
use
of
the
our
P word.
audience are asking to repeat the new home sale tool. Apparently, a lot of them just want to learn about that. Sydney is asking that. Train is asking, basically, can you please repeat the new home sales tool? And they want to learn about that.
I don't know that I understand the question.
Yeah, I
What new home sales tool?
I think you mentioned something related to it.
No, you know what I think it is, Sam? That we said that we've got a free guide for them.
Okay.
You think it's that?
Maybe.
Okay.
Guys, if it's the question, please put it in there so we can know. Another question that we've received from the audience is, what if I'm working with a buyer that has an FHA loan, and how do I apply for concessions either way, either from the builder or from the or get a commission from them directly? Do we have any answers to that one?
There's good news on that front, because Fannie and Freddie just came out and said that buyer concessions are now going to be allowed. In fact, the VA just also said that they are going to allow buyer concessions.
Great news.
So the VA was a big one. That was one we were all very scared about. Yes. So that's a good question to sit down with your mortgage brokers and really go through this stuff, because it's changing minute by minute. So if you haven't had a sit down with your mortgage lender in a while, today's the day to go do that. So lots of things changing on that front. Good questions.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Sabine, where were we? I forgot what I was saying there about. Oh, about finding out who your builder is. Sit down. Yeah. Your on-site agents are your partners. That's what I was saying. They're not the used home agent on the other side of the transaction.
Yeah.
These are people that you sit down with, you build a relationship, you build a rapport with, because you'll both have the same goal in mind. And let me share a little secret that is very well kept. On-site agents don't get to keep their jobs if they're not closers. So if you're not a strong closer, partner with an on-site agent and trust them to do their job. Your job is to get them there, know where the right place to go is. And then if you've got that rapport, you'll have this great shorthand with your on-site agent, and your buyer will just be like, yes, it's like, wow, all this energy, and they get swept up in it and they get excited and they feel it. And, and that just validates when they're going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love this home. And then they feel this positivity coming from you and from the on-site agent. It's an amazingly wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Interesting. So basically, if you're in doubt, work with the other side. They're not necessarily, yes, they might be protecting some of the interests for the builders, but you can read in between lines. You can see, and you can actually use their help to project that confidence, give them that confidence to actually move forward with that home and kind of go from there. That's a great tip. Thank you for that.
It really, and the on-site agents know what their box is, right? So, you say they're protecting the builder has told them, this is what I'm willing to do. And they will just share that with you. It's not we don't keep it secret. Oftentimes we say it much sooner than I would like for them to, but they will share with you what they can and cannot do. So you'll know, and always ask, don't assume, because then if you tell your buyer that you can do this or you're going to do this, and then you can't do it with the builder, then that's not good for anybody. Then everybody just gets very disappointed.
So we had a couple more questions planned that we kind of wanted to ask Kimberly, but before we do that, because we're going a little bit close to the end of time here now. Sam, do you have any other questions that are hot questions that you want to throw out?
Yeah, I saw a few that were really interesting from our audience. One of them was like mostly, I think the biggest question that we keep seeing our audience have is the question around allowing concessions. Basically, what do we say to our buyer about the commission that we're charging? I think it's still a hot burning question for a lot of our audience as to how do I bring up my fees? How do I talk about my realtor fees and so on? And that's the general topic that everyone always has questions, but nothing necessarily related to new home sales. I haven't seen that in here yet. But a lot of them want practical tips and some information about how to actually do this. So if Kimberly, you have like some bullet points, something that you can share with us, I think that would be really valuable, so we can reshare back with the audience and email them.
So the first thing you can do is stop doing the MLS intake form when you meet with your buyers. Just stop it right now. Don't do it anymore. Don't ask your buyers how many bedrooms, how many square feet, how many garages, how many bathrooms. We don't care, and they don't know. Start building rapport with them. They're people first. When you build that relationship with them, ask them things like, tell me about your current home. What do you like about it? And most importantly, what would you like to change in your next new home? And if you want to sell new, start using the word new. Even if you end up selling them a used home, it's still new to them. So they won't think it's weird that you're talking about the new home, right? So ask them things like that. Ask them about a day in the life. Ask them who's going to live in the home with them today and how that might change over the next 5 years, because they probably haven't thought about that. Ask them about uses of space and how they use the space, and then even walk through when they're in their kitchen in the evening and they're preparing dinner. What does the chaos look like in their world? Like, all of these things are going to give you so much better information, so you don't become Alice in Wonderland going down the proverbial rabbit hole over a 322, because not all 322s are created equally. So stop worrying about that, because people could come in and say, I only want a ranch, right? I only want a 1-story home. And then they end up buying a 2-story.
Right.
Or I only want a 1-story single family home, and then they end up buying a 2-story townhome. People don't know, right? So it's more about how that home lives. And when you build that relationship with them, then you can share at a time when it's appropriate. Then you can share with them, I'm so excited to have the opportunity to work with you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. This is going to be such a fun journey. Let me, if you would, share with you some of my value and what I bring to the equation. This is some additional education that I've gotten. These are some of the things that I've done for past buyers, da 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 da. And you need to know your unique selling propositions. And then you say, and my fee for service, get rid of the word commission. Commission is a no-no word. Just say, my fee for service is. And this could be different in different scenarios. And this becomes a very matter-of-fact conversation. And you hand them, and here's a form that I'm required by law to share with you that basically says what I've just told you verbally, that we're going to agree to work together. If you would just sign right here. Zip. That's it. It's not any harder than that, people. That's it. But if you don't start with the rapport building and you don't start asking different questions, then you're going to be afraid to get a no. And realtors don't like no's, even though no to me is just, it means that the buyer needs more information.
Exactly.
So, but
I think that's a great point.
us,
Like
we hear no and we go,
mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a golden nugget there. Like a lot of times, like no doesn't mean like I'm not interested. It's just I didn't understand it. It's too confusing.
yeah.
Well,
before we go, can I possibly talk about the 25?
So Sam, Kimberly's got this great formula. We got to give her 2 minutes at least to talk about this. So
I would love that. I would love that. Let's go.
So general real estate agents, one of the things that I teach on-site salespeople is that they need to have 25 of you who are going to be their realtor VIP. And a realtor VIP is someone that they know well, they're on speed dial. Like you can just call them, like we go, hey, it's Kimberly. And they know exactly who it is because my name came up in their phone, right? They know who I am. And if I have 25 VIPs who are going to bring me 2 buyers per year, then they qualify as a VIP. 25 times 2 is what, Sabine? Put you on the spot.
It's a lot of money. I can tell you that.
It is a lot of money. It's not new math. It's 50. So 25 times 2 is 50. That's 50 transactions a year for the on-site agent. Guess what? This works in reverse too. We can reverse prospect this. If you have, and start with 5, start with 3, just start. Please just start. But go out, go visit your on-site agents. And when you develop a shorthand with these people, then you understand how to work with them, how you can help each other. They will help you. On-site agents get buyers who can't buy their homes, can't qualify, need something else. Sometimes they get people with homes to sell. They're going to need somebody to sell those homes. There are opportunities, but you can't go in the door going, hey, I want to figure out how to get all of those people who come in and have a home to sell so I can list their homes. That is not how we build relationships. Relationships are built 1 cup of coffee, 1 conversation at a time. Hey, let me learn about you. You learn about me. And we do this a couple of times. You go visit their homes. You get to know their unique selling propositions. It is done over time. But again, Kimberly, this formula, 25 times 2, it's easy.
Just quickly, of the 25 though, what's the pool of people they're pulling from for the 25? So are we talking about their sphere of influence? Are we talking about
on-site agents? So 25 on-site agents who work for builders in your farm area.
Got it.
If you're going to sell mostly production homes, I would start with the production builders in your area. Then maybe expand out to semi-custom because then it gets a little easier. Once you've gotten a good handle on that, now maybe we look at custom on your site, or even an off-site builder, meaning they're built a production in a factory, which doesn't mean cheaper. I'm working with a off-site builder right now who builds $2 million homes. They are gorgeous. So, know what these options are, but production's probably going to be the easiest place for you to start.
It's interesting about that for anybody that wants to continue to be a buyer's agent. This formula works outside of new home sales too. I mean, This is your sphere of influence. This is your accountant bringing you 2 a year, or your financial advisor bringing you 2 a year, or whatever it is. So you can get to 50 in lots of different ways. So that's actually a very cool idea.
And who wouldn't want 50 sales a year? I mean, NAR says the average agent does 12. that's one a month. I'm saying, hey, let's do 4 a month.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I love it. So until Sam gets back, I just wanted to double check. Is there anything else that you wanted to leave everybody with, Kimberly or Sam, if you have any other questions that you want to drop in?
I think there's a lot of things that we can bring to the table jointly with you guys, with HIVEOLOGie team. So one of them being like more printable PDFs that can be shared as a template with the buyer, with the seller, just explaining these, because I think the reality is everyone's going to be confused in the next 3 months. I think we can see the day where starting August 17th, I think, is when NAR opts in, and then starting September 17th is when you actually stop putting it on the MLS and so on. So that day, end of September, is going to be super confusing for everyone. Like, oh, how do we get paid now? Where is this? And I think that's the biggest question, right? Like, so the more we can educate our clients, the more we can talk to them, and the more we can bring them up to date, change the misinformation, because I think that's the biggest duty right now. There's a ton of misinformation by mass media. They all portray realtors as these freeloaders that get free money, and they just do things. They don't see the big value that we bring to the table, and everything that goes into it. Like, if they don't see the life of a realtor that works with so many people, spends so many hours, shows so many homes, and that grind. So I think it's our job to educate the community and really change that narrative.
I couldn't agree more. And I was going to say, you know, some of the questions you had were items that we covered in previous webinar more deeply. So I would recommend to everybody, go have a look at the ones that we did prior. We've gone quite deep already into these conversations of buyer rep agreements, compensation, different forms of compensation. And next month, we're going to go even more deeply into a couple of areas that relate directly to this. So with the next 2 sessions, we're specifically focusing on this issue and everything that we can do to support you. And we'll look at this idea of consumer guides and things that we can do that will help everybody. Maybe there's more that we can provide there. So that was a good idea today for sure. So unless you've got anything else, Sam, we're at 2 minutes after 4. So we should, or my time anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So guys, make sure you use the link, sign up for HIVEOLOGie. We've worked out a great course. There's a ton of value that HIVEOLOGie brings to the table. I'm sorry we went over a little bit, but remember, our job is to help you move the needle. Our job is to help you learn and adapt yourself with all the upcoming changes. HIVEOLOGie has done an amazing job of creating courses. Give it like, and there's if you use the link that's on this webinar, you can go to that link, get information, sign up, and get quite a bit off percentage-wise to sign up for the course.
And there's lots of free resources too. So depending on where you are financially, we can basically find there's something for everybody, and there's lots of unique topics too. So jump in there. Kimberly, thank you. Really, really appreciate you and all that you offer. You're wonderful as always. And Sam, thank you, Kimberly, for being a charming co-host.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabine, for all the organization. Kimberly, we learned so much about new home sales, working with builders today. I personally learned a couple of things, and I've been working with builders for like 12, 13 years. So thank you for that.
She's just getting started. Wait till you see the rest of her stuff. She is good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
So much for your time. Don't forget to sign up for HIVEOLOGie, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thanks all. Have a wonderful